Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Volfie from Our Half Acre Homestead. Well, I saw something really cool today. I saw meatloaf stuffed with mashed potatoes. And if you remember from when I made my hamburger gravy, I had some leftover mashed potatoes. So this is what we're going to do, okay? Now, of course, I'm gonna, change it up and make it a Mrs. Volfie thing. But I thought that was a really cool idea. Now, you've all seen my signature meatloaf recipe. So let's just start with the meatloaf, okay? I'm going to put in 2 pounds of the local lean hay-fed ground beef. And we're going to add, I got my my home dehydrated garlic here. We're not going to put that too far away because we're going to season our potatoes with that too. Whoops. About a half a teaspoon of peppercorns and some salt. We're just going to grind this up. Oh, while we're doing that, let's dump in our breadcrumbs. I got about 2 cups of breadcrumbs here, about a cup for each pound. There we go. That's my homemade sourdough bread in there. And for once, I'm not going to put onion in here because I'm going to season I'm going to put it in the mashed potatoes instead. I'm going to put in 1 egg, 1 big egg, and we're just going to let that mix and grind up our garlic and our black peppercorns and our salt. I'm going to dump that in there. And we're going to set this aside because we're going to need it again. Now I'm going to get us a piece of parchment paper to work on. And now that our hamburger is all nice and mixed, we're going to lay this all, we're going to put this on our parchment. Let's get our, leftover mashed potatoes in there. For the mashed potatoes, let's get that stirring. Again, we're going to add an egg. And I'm just going to cut up this green onion. And we're going to drop our onions in there. So, let's get our grinder again. And once again, add some dehydrated garlic. Maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of peppercorns. A little bit of salt. And then that goes into the potatoes. Let's work on our meatloaf. Put another piece of parchment on top. And get out my rolling pin. We're going to try and mold this so that it actually is in a rectangular shape. Let's get this. Alrighty, now I'm going to say that looks pretty good. Now, being pretty lean, I've got a casserole dish here and I've just put a little bit of sunflower oil in the bottom. We'll set that aside for a moment. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some dehydrated mushrooms. I got this idea from my beef Wellington. Because in beef Wellington, you dry saute them to get the moisture out, so why not just use dehydrated mushrooms? They smell so good. And I am just going to sprinkle a layer of powdered mushrooms all over the meatloaf. And I think I might just do a little bit more. Yeah, that's a little more rustic looking. And now, let's take our mashed potatoes. And this works really well if the mashed potatoes are cold, because then they're more firm. Now, we're going to take our mashed potatoes with our onions and our seasoning and our egg, and I'm just going to kind of lay it here like a log. I may have too much mashed potatoes, but I've never done this before. Let me just rinse my hands here. And now I'm going to take the parchment and I'm just going to roll that over. Now I suppose if I wanted to be really fancy, I could have done this with the plastic wrap like I did the beef Wellington. I never even thought about it. And now we just want to fold the end in and hope that this is going to fit in our casserole dish. This is just another way, folks, of having meatloaf and mashed potatoes, isn't it? All right, now don't worry about this little seam here because it's going to go into our casserole dish as is, but we're going to put it, now let's hope my parchment paper doesn't rip here. Well, now let's try it this way. Let's just make sure this is all going to fit, and if it doesn't, I'm just going to, okay, I'm going to show you this way. It doesn't quite fit, so I'm just going to push it like that. Let's just take the parchment and flip that right over. Bob's your uncle. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? You should see this, Papa. Alrighty. This is going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 40 minutes. Alright? We'll see you guys at the dinner table. Oh my, doesn't that look pretty? Dish up Papa a plate. This is just cabbage and beans. Sometimes we just like canned cabbage and beans cooked together. It's quite yummy, actually. Oh my. Would you look at that?
Smells very good.
It's hot.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Good?
Very good. Very good.
This is the Mrs. Volfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, who says meatloaf and mashed potatoes has to be just meatloaf and mashed potatoes?